Hello ladies and gents, it's EZScape. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today I'll be interviewing Alicen, also known as Lewis and Spark, who is a new product manager for speedrun.com. If you guys weren't aware, speedrun.com was recently acquired by elo.io, and going by their website, they say that they specialize in advanced data analytics for esports games. So speedrun.com was kind of a long-term project for the original site owner Pack, and recently he has transferred the ownership to Elo. So I tweeted out last week asking you guys which questions you wanted me to ask the product manager, and so we set up an interview. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to ask every question, either it being out of the scope for a product manager, or they just don't have definitive answers yet because speedrun.com was recently acquired and they're still working on collecting feedback. However, they do plan in the next month or two, which is also discussed in the interview, that they will be providing a feedback thread, and I'll also be including a thread in the description for you guys to include feedback and ask those types of questions yourself. It doesn't mean that these questions are never going to be answered. It just means that they aren't going to be answered in this interview. I'll also be including another interview in the description by the Asobi Journal, so make sure you read that as well if you had even more questions. They may have answered more questions that I didn't ask in this interview. I was going to include an intro and an outro to this video, but instead I decided to cut the outro and just leave all the information at the start, so the end of the interview is just going to kind of fade out. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope it answers some of your questions about the acquisition that recently occurred with speedrun.com and elo.io, and I hope you guys all have a beautiful life, as usual. Other than that, then yeah, we'll pretty much just stick to the questions that I have in store, but I honestly do not know much about elo.io at all. Could you just give me a little rundown of what it is, and why PAX sold speedrun.com to you guys, and what speedrun.com means for you guys?
Yeah, sure. So essentially what Elo is right now is it is a company that owns a couple different websites. It originally started with Dota Buff, which is like Dota tracking stats. It tells you how to play your game better, things like that. Mm-hmm. And then it has since then branched out into like Valor Buff and other games. It's mostly focused on esports related things, but they realized something that's very important to them is tools for gaming communities in general. So when they saw speedrun.com, they were like, oh, this could be a potentially good acquisition because we have the engineering expertise, we have the marketing resources, we have the product expertise. If PAC is interested in it, we would be able to financially back this in a way that I don't think it was able to before that point. So it wasn't because they saw it as like a new esports frontier or anything. They just saw it as another potential gaming community that we'd be able to help provide resources to.
That's great. Yeah, and since you guys have acquired speedrun.com, I have noticed that the website does load a lot smoother now.
Yeah, no, we have been hard at work on the back end in terms of improving the infrastructure, and that's only going to get better as time goes on and we migrate and we just improve what's happening on the back end.
I guess to lead off of that, is there anything off the top of the head that you're planning on implementing here within the next month or so? Just new features on the website. If you don't have anything right now, that's completely fine. But
yeah, no, in the next month or so, I would say in the next 2 months. So before we hit 2021, what we're aiming for is what we're calling quality of life improvements, and we're trying to figure out what are some of the asks that like the community has wanted for a while and hasn't been able to been implemented yet, and then be able to roll those out as some easy wins that we're able to help the community with. We don't know what those improvements are yet. We're currently facilitating making a list of that with the FMod, the full mods, and the content moderators, so that we make sure we are addressing things people care about. But yeah, for the first 2 months, we're probably going to be focusing on the smaller things as well as just stabilizing the site, so that I'm sure we've all seen the thing where the site is under pressure, and we're trying to avoid that anymore.
Especially during like a GDQ, or recently Jaden Animations made her video, and the second she posts her video, site's down.
Yeah, no, that was funny story there. So we were going to announce, and then the Jaden, sometimes we call it the Jaden incident, happened. We're like, in our original announcement, we were like, the site has stopped going down, like, because from that point, from the point of acquisition to the announcement that was about to happen, like 2 days later, the site had not gone down at all. We had handled all of it. It'd been great. And then like 2 days before we were going to announce, the site just went straight down. So we had to change all of our language to like, the site goes down less frequently.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, since that, I mean, you probably noticed the most popular games list is now Cooking Mama too,
Yeah,
which
and that's one of the things that we're excited about being able to help with is the fact that as speedrunning grows and as it becomes more popular and more mainstream, there's going to be more site pressure, and we need to make sure that we're prepared. Like in the future, we want to make sure that like the site won't go down at all. Like we didn't
yeah.
expect this to happen at all, so we were not prepared. But like in the future, figuring out how do we mitigate those types of things.
And that's just beneficial for everyone. It's beneficial for us, obviously. It's beneficial for you guys, just to, like with ad space in mind. You know, you don't want to lose traffic anyways. So
Yeah.
it's just an easy like thing to go for, I guess.
I mean,
Like
ideally, we would like people to be able to use the site. I think that
yes,
is
that is
on
very it
all
is
fronts.
very important. Very important. I know just off the top of my head, some things that people are looking for is like something to facilitate like bounties. Which, you know, I don't even know if that's something I would go through speedrun.com, but just something to kind of keep in mind. And there's other people that are kind of hopping on the opportunity right now. So we'll have to see how that develops. I think that something that would be great for speedrun.com though is like a race client. You're probably familiar with Speedruns Live, and they basically do all the races through IRC. Well, not that it's so difficult to go through IRC. There's just a lot of people that don't bother. They would just rather set it up in Discord and go 3, 2, 1, go. And maybe we can have like a little hybrid between speedrun.com or just something on speedrun.com to implement racing. Because racing is such a huge part of speedrunning. It would be great to have something like that implemented on site.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, people seem to be having a lot of success with racetime.gg right now. And
Okay.
Speedruns Live is also great. But those are the two that I've seen mainly used. And Racing Client is definitely something that we've heard a lot. People have mentioned it. But since right now Speedruns Live and racetime.gg are doing a pretty good job of filling that need, not saying that like there wouldn't be
Right.
cool integrations we could do with speedrun.com, not saying there's other things we could add to it in terms of making it one click, but just at the moment we don't have a plan for that, but it's something that may change as we get the rest of the site more set. Like we want to make sure the functionality we
Yeah.
have right
Of
now is
course.
really good before adding new stuff, but we've definitely heard people saying that.
So OmniGamer says, are they looking into any structural changes as far as how moderators are appointed and maintained? Will they be allowing any method for challenging or updating existing rules for a given game category separately from moderator discretion?
So what I'll say about that is it is an incredibly nuanced question. And at the
Yes.
moment, we don't have plans on changing that, or the current policies, but that has more to do with the fact that we are new to the space and we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to come in and just be like, hey, like we think that moderators have been doing it wrong this whole time. And here's like a better way to do it. We really want to listen to the community and understand what those changes mean. So like we are open to policy changes in the future, but it's going to need to be very community led with a lot of research and like basically community backing instead of
Mm-hmm.
anything top down coming from us. So no, we don't have any plans right now, but that has more to do with our lack of expertise in this than anything to do with like it can't be improved or something.
Of course. I mean, and I think people underestimate how difficult it is to manage something like speedrunning because yes, you're like as you say, the community, but
Mm-hmm.
it's actually like thousands upon thousands of communities.
Yeah.
It really isn't one community and one solution isn't going to satisfy everyone's demands. And I think that's what Pack always tried to do was find a middle ground that would hopefully suit everyone.
I would say our base goal is to empower communities to be able to run themselves as they see fit. But we recognize the flip side of that is being able to provide the support they need. So it really
Mm-hmm.
depends on what communities start asking for. Like, we don't want to tell them, oh, you need our help on these things. We more want the communities to go, we need help on these things. And then we figure out ways to best support those communities.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have any announcements planned in the upcoming future for people to look forward to as far because I think you guys were planning on taking all of the feedback and then just coming out with everything. I was just wondering if there's any timeline to expect something like that.
So we're hoping our next community announcement will be in November or December, and that will be less of like, we have everything figured out and here's exactly how it's going to go, but more, here's what we're thinking of. This is the tentative roadmap as we are moving forward. This is what we're hoping for and our goals. And then being able to give the community a sense of like what we are trying to achieve, and then seeing if we are able to do that. So, or pivoting depending on if the community needs turn out to be something completely different. So.
Okay, great. Here's one from Bubbles Del Fuego. He asks, ask them what their plan is with merging sites boards that haven't come over to SRC. So I don't know if you're aware, there's several boards. And also we could extend that over to high scores. I think that is something that PAC wanted to implement but never got around to. So having speedrun.com track more than just speedruns, but also high score time or high scores. And also, I'm trying to think of the ones that aren't. I think maybe it was like Donkey Kong Country or other game. I think that other games have.
So Mega Man isn't.
Okay, that's a good one.
I think that there may be. I don't know if Halo isn't or if that was just older, but we are aware that there are boards that have their own boards off-site, and to us, we're like, all the power to you. That's fantastic. One of the things, as I said before, is the fact that we want to empower communities to run themselves. And if the answer to that is they don't need us and they can run themselves with their own site, then that's awesome. Like, that's totally fine. It makes no sense to try to convince people who are happy where they are, that they have the tools that they need, that they are running it the way they want to, that we could do any better. The most I could see happening is, let's say that a community decides that, oh, we like a new tool that speedrun.com rolled out. We think this would make it easier. This would actually be more helpful. Maybe we want to merge boards then. That sounds like something that we're totally open to. We can discuss. But really, unless they see that or think that what we have to provide is better than what they're able to run on their own, we don't want to convince them, because it's really their decision and we want to respect that.
Okay, gotcha. Will they consider adding new or better trend data and statistical tools to each game's history? I'm sure they're talking about when you scroll down on the game and you see the statistics. I feel like it could just be better.
Yes. So overall, we have seen a lot of requests for basically cool ways to use all of the data that we collect. So even ranging from like, I would love to be able to see a trend graph of my PB in like a particular game over time, or what is the trend for the world record for a particular game. We do want to figure out cool ways to use the data, to visualize it, to do cool things with it. That's, again, unfortunately, one that's probably farther in the future, because we need to stabilize the current tools that we have, but it's definitely one that's been asked for, and that's one of the ones where it's like, that would be really fun. Like, me personally, I'm like, this is what I want to see, because it would be super cool. And once we get everything else on lock and comfortable in terms of like moderator tools, or like the more basic stuff, I'm like, okay, like, this is the cool stuff that we're able to do with the website.
Do you think that's just like more up your alley with elo.io? Is that sort of what you guys are doing over there as well? With statistics, I guess?
No, I
just don't know enough about it.
Yeah. I would say yes, that it definitely is, but I don't think that means that that's what we would want to focus on with speedrun.com.
Okay.
Like, that's the nice part is, when we decide to do that, we will have like years worth of experience to figure out cool features that people have wanted in the past. But it's definitely not like speedrun.com is pivoting to that. It would just be like a cool add-on that we have the expertise for.
Okay. Next up, would you guys consider something like a mobile app?
So I keep saying this for all of them, but that's another one that everyone wants.
No, that's, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's why it came up. It is something that we would consider, but that one requires so much different programming and like different expertise. We are not like I'm actually not positive, but I think we're not a mobile first company right now. Like, that's not what we're going for. So we recognize people want it, but I would say that like things like the data thing would come before mobile app.
Okay.
But it would be nice. The thing we would like to do is we'd love to make the website more mobile responsive, so that like if you pull it up, it's like a decent experience. It's not that hard, but I don't think we would ever go into like a specific app for it.
Okay. This one is from Joshimus, or Joshimus. Not sure how we say that, but I actually have a question since I just noticed it. On your website, you sell, question mark, access to an API for all of your websites. But SRC's API is already free and open source-ish. Is this due to change, or are you just selling the easy to access all-in-one API? A lot of community resources rely on this API. I'm not familiar enough with your other sites to find a definitive answer to if those also have individual free APIs or not.
So it's definitely not due to change. Like, I wouldn't say that in the slightest. We recognize that a lot of the community builds tools tapping into our API, and we've also gotten feedback that they want a version 2 of the API. And we do want the community to be able to leverage the site and build cool things and continue to build out the ecosystem and do awesome stuff, I guess. So I don't know exactly how the API will change, but our goal is not to limit access of it because we think that would hurt the community's ability to build cool stuff, basically.
I agree, because pretty much any resource that speedrunners have access to, we will use. And something like a free API to the speedrun.com that hosts all the leaderboards would definitely be a resource that we're going to be using. So that is really nice to hear.
Yeah, there may be changes in general. I don't know them off the top of my head, but it would never be with the intention of like making that harder, unless there were like specific back-end reasons why we have to do certain things.
Okay. I'm gonna completely steer in a different direction now, but I remember Pac had some involvement with GSA, the Global Speedrun Association. I remember that he owned the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/speedrun, and that's what they stream on now. With you guys taking over speedrun.com, do you have any involvement with this in any way? Is it still going to be hosted on the homepage? I guess, yeah, what is your involvement with the Global Speedrun Association at this point, and maybe moving forward?
So our involvement with the GSA is, I would say, what we would like our involvement to be with any marathon, with any content creator, in the sense that we're actually redoing the homepage and we want to be able to feature like different marathons, different streams, different content. So GSA may be something that we feature on there, but it would be as a part of a greater variety of content. So let's say GDQ wanted to put hotfix on our front page for like certain periods of time, then we would have that. And then let's say GSA is running an event on some weeknight where they'd like to have it. We want to be able to surface cool speedrun content to people who like speedrun.com, but it's not like we are specifically like, I don't think we ever, I may be wrong, but I don't think we ever owned twitch.tv/speedrun. I think they always did. And I think they will continue to do so. So we want to collaborate with them as content creators, but it's not like, it's not more closely associated with speedrun.com than any other content creator.
In regards to enhanced moderation tools, will one of these tools relate to being able to segregate a massive amount of runs efficiently without having to resubmit each individual run with a new variable subcategory added? Basically, leaderboard management is not as efficient as it could be, just in a lot of ways.
Definitely, which is why one of our goals is to come out with new moderator well, I wouldn't say new, but updated moderator tools, because in the feedback forum and from people in general and the feedback forum thread, there's tons of asks for different changes to the moderator tool. So we're going to do a deep dive research project into what do updates look like, and then we'll probably put that in one large package, and then ship them all together so that people are able to better run their communities.
Okay. There isn't too much else I have, unless there's anything that you would like to add that I didn't bring up. Anything that you guys have planned with speedrun.com, be willing to hear it. But if not, then that will be all for today.
I don't think there's anything off the top of my head. This is my standard refrain, but please send in feedback through the feedback form. I actually do read through all of that, and it is a good way for me to collect all of it and be able to reference it later. So if you are trying to reach me or give feedback about what you want for the site, fill that out and I will actually be reading it. So.
Okay, I'll make sure I include that in the description, as well as that article and anything else relevant, so people can learn even more about Elo, the future of speedrun.com, and I look forward to seeing you guys' updated posts in November or December, whenever that is to come. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
great. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that you guys are so transparent, transparent enough with us to be able to do interviews like this. That's really great. And I really appreciate it.
I enjoy answering all of the questions, so I looked forward to this.